We have an open top car. We want to get breakfast, but we just put the boot on. Do I pull the boot off, put the top up so that we're secure? Or do we just risk it and leave it all open? I don't know. We're stupid. We'll just risk it. See if there's a spot over there. That can't be a legal spot, but...
You know what that is? That's when I was single and no children.
Who needs a retirement plan?
This is my retirement plan.
I love driving and BSing about classic Porsches. So how great would it be to take a killer road trip in an old 911 and visit a bunch of my best friends who love the same things? Oh, and while I'm on the trip, I thought I'd make a TV show about it. So let's drive the coolest cars on the best roads with the greatest people in America. I'm John Polnik, and you're coming with me on my Porsche road trip. Today on the road trip, we'll drive while awesome with my buddy Lane Skelton from the DWA podcast.
I think it's just getting people into cars for the reason we like cars, which is actually like driving the cars.
I helped my pal Sahand get his first Porsche.
This is all your fault, John.
And the amazing Eric Lind causes some chaos. All on this episode of Porsche Road Trip with me, John Polnik.
We love these cars. I ain't no collector. You drive them things and I might respect ya.
These days, everyone is making a car podcast. Even I host one out of our studio in Las Vegas called Dur or Die. But it's okay if you haven't heard of it yet, because today I'm visiting with my friend Lane Skelton. He's one of the 4 guys responsible for my favorite car podcast, Driving While Awesome, or DWA for short. Apparently, Lane is buddies with a bunch of those tech billionaires that I mentioned earlier. Because last minute, on a random Monday morning, he was able to assemble a group of 30 guys who had the time to come out and show me some of their favorite backroads. Who has time on a Monday afternoon to go out and drive like a maniac? Only the awesome.
Yeah, so with DWA, we started, we have the podcast, and then we started doing 2 rallies a year. Essentially, they're kind of vintage, but most car rallies, driving events throughout California, there's tons of them, and they're all pre-smog, so pre-1975. I drive a Porsche 944, we have a BMW E30, we had an E36 M3, we have a Porsche 993. None of these cars had a place to go. So we started a rally that was for basically anything, with sense of occasion is our caveat. We don't want it to be a new car rally.
Yeah.
We want it to be cars with a little bit of history to them. So 80s and 90s cars is our focus.
Well, yeah, you guys have really kind of capitalized on that kind of gap. It seems like, you mentioned most of those rallies kind of stop at 76, and now you have this whole generation or 2 really of cars that have been in limbo. They haven't been recognized.
Kind of underappreciated.
Right.
Yeah, thanks. What's going on here, guys? Little alternator change for the trip. It's just the first of Brian's problems.
Trying to find a Corvette alternator just anywhere on the rally, and nobody could get them till tomorrow. Luckily, we've got a bunch of experts around here. So I call up Hollister and get a truck alternator for an 85 pickup instead, and it's good.
Of course, we got a couple emails and texts last night from participants that one guy's car, the engine blew up on the way to the start point. Another guy's car failed somehow on the way to the rally. A couple other people couldn't make the start. They're hoping to meet us midway or end of the day today. Things like that, the breakdowns, when they're happening, it sucks, but those are the things you remember and you look back at fondly, I think, for years to come.
Go! Oh! What the fuck? Why was he in gear? It wasn't in skid. This thing is hard to put in first. Is it in first? Yeah, it's in first. Go on 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah! Oh!
clearly you guys have kind of niched out. You've got the Radwood, you've got driving while awesome. You guys are just those kind of key words. Am I correct in kind of an assumption based on that you guys are trying to encourage a younger generation of car enthusiasts?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I really think that's our goal. I mean, I don't think we set out with that as our goal. I think it's just getting people into cars for, I wouldn't say the right reason, but the reason we like cars, which is actually like driving the cars.
Are the 80s and 90s cars really the last generation of analog?
Sure. Analog cars are kind of lost, and I think heel toe downshift now. Manual transmissions, they do it for you.
What
They match
sorcery
revs.
is that? How does that even work?
I have no
There's no
idea.
way that's a real thing. When most people think of the Bay Area, fog and the Golden Gate Bridge are the first things to come to mind. To others, it's more interesting that there are more newly minted tech billionaires here than any other place in the world. To me, it's more about the thousands of miles of amazing Northern California roads and events like Monterey Car Week and Rennsport Reunion and Historics Racing at Laguna Seca. The combination of lots of roads and lots of money floating around means that the classic Porsche craze has gone full tilt. The legendary R Group Porsche Club started here, and there's almost no one I know more OG than my friend Eric Lind. If you're a fan of Outlaw 911s, you know him as Captain Chaos.
I'm a serial hot rodder. I've raced cars and boats and anything with a motor in it since I was like 12 years old. I've never had a car that stayed stock, and I've had like 40 different cars, so nothing stays stock around me. One day I woke up, told my wife I want to get a 911, a weird colored one, a brown one, a green one, something. And sure enough, on Pelican, there was this bitter chocolate SC for sale up in Bozeman, Montana. So the price was right, and it was almost November, so no one wanted to go to Bozeman, Montana and look at a Porsche. But I flew up there and bought it and drove it home in 2 days in all rain and snow, including getting stuck on Donner Pass in the snow. It was great. Car didn't let me down, definitely fell in love with it at that point, and you know, I already had parts waiting for me when I got home to start modifying. I bought an SC specifically because they were a bargain Porsche, if you will. I couldn't see trying to buy into a long hood car and then modify it. It would just be crazy money anymore. But like most cars that I've owned, I went off the deep end, and the financial sense is sort of out of the window at this point. I'm clearly on the outlaw hot rod side of the Porsche world. For me, it's about personalization, and it's about making the car actually perform right. So I made a bunch of ergonomic changes in the car to make it fit me better. And I made a bunch of changes to the car to make it go faster and stop better and handle better and just be a better car all around. A properly set up 911, especially a modernish one with reasonable wheels and tires on it, is never going to try and kill you. It's no worse to drive than any other front engine rear drive car that I've ever driven, except perhaps out of that very, very ragged edge. I really don't care what it looks like. I mean, I do to a certain degree, but the aesthetics are sort of a means to an end. I changed wheels and tires to 17s because I couldn't find good enough tires in the right size that looked right on this car in 15. So as much as I love 15s, they didn't work on this car. But everything that's been done to this car has been done for a performance reason, not just for looks. I like to try and make it look nice at the same time, but that's sort of an after effect. Got into the Porsche thing because I wanted a car that handled again. I've had race cars and stuff in the past, so I wanted something I could steer and shift. But I will say that having gotten into the 911 world, I can't imagine having another car. You know, for me, I want that raw, visceral, nasty, dripping oil, having a great time feel. I want to feel every bump in the road. I want to feel it when I unfortunately smite that quail. That's what having a real sports car is about, whether it's a Porsche or anything else. It's about that feeling, and you can't get that out of a slick shifting, water-cooled 911 or anything modern, in my opinion. I get asked all the time, what would you do if you sold it? I wouldn't sell it. What would I buy? That's kind of where my head's at. I mean, okay, the car was a little slower than I like, so I put a 3.6 in it, problem solved. You know, there's really no reason with a 911 to need another car. I find that most people that drive, that have 911s or early air-cooled cars in general, they know a lot about mechanics, and they know a lot about how the cars work, and they know what works and what doesn't work, and they share this information because the cool thing is this thing's been developed since '65, so people know a lot, and they're willing to share it. And you don't really get that with other types of cars. The people are what makes the hobby fun. Having been into all other kinds of cars and gone to different car shows, and there's a lot of people sitting around in lawn chairs and minding their own business, and I don't even get that. I mean, when I happened upon the R Group guys, this group of misfits, if you will, we'll look for any opportunity to get together and go drive. We don't care if it's raining, we don't care if it's far, we don't care if it's hot. We just want to go drive the hell out of these cars and burn up some dinosaurs. I mean, it's a great time every time.
No doubt the captain is a driver, and it's guys like him that are doing the work, being a leader, and shaping what it is to be a classic Porsche enthusiast. His efforts bring more and more people on board the Porsche train every day, and I mean, after all, every train needs a captain, right? Or is that a conductor? I don't know, you get the metaphor. Or simile?
It's not a midlife crisis car anymore, I don't think. I think Corvettes still hold that one.
Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Godden, this guy. Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about, and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for, Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. And now a teaching moment with the professor.
The Porsche 914, despite its many virtues, has been much maligned for many years as a member of the Porsche family of cars. Perhaps it suffers from an identity crisis. Maybe it doesn't have enough power. Or some may say that the styling is too, well, polarizing. While those things may be true, it is important to remember that the 914 was a huge commercial success, vastly outselling its handsome and intrepid big brother, the 911. Devised as a joint venture between Volkswagen and Porsche, the idea was that there would be two models, one with a VW 4-cylinder engine, and the other with a 2-liter 6-cylinder engine from the previous Porsche 911. As interest in the 914 has risen in recent years, interest in the 914-6, as it's known, has reached unimaginable heights. Due to the relative rarity and undeniable balance, the 914-6 might just be the perfect sports car. Professor approved.
For a young guy coming up, it's hard enough to find the money to buy a classic Porsche. But even if you are able to scrape together the funds, finding the right car to buy can be elusive. One of my best friends in the world, Sahand, an avid car nut like me, as a millennial, he's for one reason or another missed multiple opportunities to buy an air-cooled 911 that fits his budget, especially when all the good ones keep getting gobbled up by those billionaires. He recently visited Las Vegas to be on our podcast, Dur or Die, to tell me about it.
You know, it's Porsche time.
It's Porsche time.
It's always Porsche time. This is all your fault, John.
It's always my fault.
Let's just clarify the source of this insanity. And you know, you were like, you should come out you should just drive with me to Vegas, and
Yeah.
we should just hang out in Vegas, and you should come. I've got this car show I'm putting on, and this, that, and the other. And I was like, fuck it.
Carzun Cafe.
Carzun Cafe. As a part of that drive, I started really getting excited about getting an air cool. And interestingly enough, I'm out here for 48 hours. I've been looking, and all of a sudden I get a call from my buddy, and, he's like, hey, so my uncle's looking to sell his Porsche, and he was wondering if you're interested. And I was like, yeah, I am interested in that.
Yeah.
So I want that.
And that was a friend of yours who you'd known.
Yeah, so he and I have been friends since we were in second grade, and his uncle has known me since I was 10.
Wow.
And he's had that car since I was 10. So, I go back home the next day, and I go and see the car. And actually, you ended up coming out.
Yeah, I wound up coming out that weekend.
Weekend, and so I put it together, made it happen.
I remember getting there going, yeah, he said he'll sell it to me, and he gave you a really good price.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like a crazy good price.
It was a crazy price.
And then you're like, yeah, we're going to go pick it up next week. And I'm like, dude, write him a check right now because he'll get on the internet and change his damn mind.
Right.
So
I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
and so I did.
Yeah. The next morning, I remember we were there. We went there like 7 in the morning.
7 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. And picked up the car and drove it straight to Easy.
Right around the corner from the famous Pixar campus used to be the European Auto Salvage Yard. It was built here in Oakland way back when a few acres of land was still cheap enough that it made financial sense to put an auto salvage yard on them. Times have changed, but one thing that hasn't is the weekly Saturday morning Easy Meet, where classic Porsche enthusiasts come to see their friends and tell tall tales. Even though the salvage yard is no longer in business, the new owner of the building still supplies coffee and donuts every Saturday morning for all who attend, including my friends from the Three Pedal Posse and the famous Professor. Now, hanging out with your buddies and talking about cars on a Saturday morning is great, but we are drivers after all. So the show quickly gives way to plans for a drive, and before you know it, it's on. Monterey is one of the most beautiful places on earth, and every year the city plays host to the famous Monterey Car Week. This year, however, is different, because this year, over 80,000 people will make the pilgrimage to Monterey for something much bigger. The ultimate Porsche Mecca, known the world over as Rennsport Reunion 6. The thing that drives you a little nuts when you're in a place like this is you see something amazing and you don't realize that you're walking by something even more amazing. It's just sensory overload in this place. Unlike Car Week, where most of the cars on display are just that, on display, Rennsport is about driving. You'll see these cars racing around the track today, and then later you'll find yourself chasing one of them on a canyon road. As I sit here in front of my computer editing this episode, the memories of this trip and Rennsport Reunion make me realize just how lucky I am.
picture to see Porsches go like that.
What do they do? I don't know if I got that.
When you spend weeks on the road by yourself driving a classic Porsche across the country, your mind can wander. We call this part of the show Road Trip Ramblings. I'm old. Seriously, I'm out here on the road making this TV show all by myself, and I'm feeling it. Filming, writing, directing, producing, hell, even the editing, it's all pretty much just one guy and you're looking at him. And let me tell you, this is a young man's game. I mean, who wants to listen to what some aging Gen Xer has to say about anything anyway? Yet here I am on TV looking like someone's dad talking about dinosaurs. Maybe we should have made one of those typical car shows where we beat up some poor guy on the price of his old Porsche. Or we fix it up just in time to sell it at an auction, or to some boomer with too much money and not enough taste. Is that really what people want? I don't know, probably most of them, but I still hope that at least some of you care about these old cars like I do. Like this 1978 911 SC. It was found under a car cover, having sat for almost 20 years. I mean, really, we didn't do much to it. All we did is get it to run well. I don't care how much it's worth, or if it's appreciating, and there certainly won't be some big reveal at the end of this show bragging about how much money we made selling it. I'm just gonna drive it for a long time. Who knows? Maybe one day there'll be a show hosted by the AI robots of the future talking about us like we do, talking about the dinosaurs. I'm JP.
JP.
Does that mean I shouldn't talk about the contagious things?
I remember having an epiphany as like a 15-year-old when I'm like, Ray-Ban.
Wait, what?